zoning rewrite question and answer session / meeting agenda.
1 second, it's signing it. Okay.
5 o'clock, Town of LaPointe Special Planning and Zoning, Town Plan Commission zoning rewrite question and answer session / meeting agenda. September 24th, 2025 at Town Hall. Call to order, roll call.
Charles Brummer.
Tim Peters.
Paul Wilhelm. Draft zoning rewrite question and answer meeting scheduled. And tonight, we are just going to be talking about sections 1 through 5, taking your questions and hopefully answering them. And Rich here will have an overview of the process.
Okay. Thanks, Paul. So there's also a handout. Yeah, it's the exact same thing. Yep. So Alex or Steve that are online, can you see the PowerPoint presentation?
I can.
Okay, awesome. Wanted to confirm that. So there is a handout here. I know that the chairs in this building face kind of the wrong direction. So the slides are available if you didn't already pick one up. It's exactly what's on the board behind you. So just kind of wanted to go over a quick overview of where we're at and next steps. So the first slide was just an introduction slide. The second slide is the zoning rewrite, and this is just kind of a timeline. And as you know, the zoning ordinance was last updated in 2019. And then the town undertook and completed a comprehensive plan that in 2024. And that's really a roadmap for the community to follow to achieve its goals. So then TPC has been working hard on the zoning rewrite, focusing on the different chapters. And that's why we wanted to get together tonight and talk about the first 5. So just from a timeline perspective, the draft rewrite was available August 14th. And we had a public hearing on September 3rd. So moving on to the next slide. So this one's now at the top of the second page. And the public hearing was well attended. This room was almost full. And we took feedback after that meeting because we wanted to hear what people thought about the zoning ordinance. And the feedback is that everyone was really interested in having additional question and answer listening sessions. And the town heard that loud and clear. So tonight is really the first of 3 question and answer sessions. Tonight, September 24th. And then tentatively, we have one scheduled for October 8th and then October 23rd at the same time at 5 o'clock in this room. So I say tentative because we're meeting as the TPC next Wednesday to firm up those dates for the 8th and the 23rd. And we'll be posting that on the website, probably the next day, just confirming those dates. Your feedback and input are valuable and appreciated. So the plan for tonight, and this is now moving on to the 4th slide, is, tonight, sections 1 through 5. October 8th will be sections 6 through 10. And then October 23rd, sections 11 through 16. So you know, today we wanted, so now we're on to slide 5. There's only 6 slides tonight, so we'll get through this quickly. And the reason this is short is this presentation, because we want to hear from everyone that's here and everyone that's online. We want to hear from you. You know, what modifications do you like? Do you have any questions? What are your concerns? What would you change and why? You know, we're gathering all of that information, and we want to hear it from you. And then the last slide again is just kind of a summary of the sections that we're covering: introduction, definitions, zoning districts, general provisions, and signs. So I'm going to turn it back over to Paul, you know, kind of go through process and, you know, and then we'll open it up. But again, thanks everyone for coming out tonight. We greatly appreciate it. I'm going to go ahead and stop for those online. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing the PowerPoint. So we should all be back in the same room together now.
So when you ask a question, please state your name, and if you could reference the page in the ordinance, that would certainly be helpful. So who would like to be first?
Kind of a procedural question. Are you gonna do this like any questions for 1, any questions for 2, any questions for 3? And just address each question or each concern, and then if there's everyone satisfied, you move on to the next one? Or do you just want to jump around?
Well, I mean, what do you think?
I would think offhand, does anyone have any questions under number 1, the introduction? It's fair based. I wouldn't think so, but does anyone have questions? Right about now. If anyone's got questions for number 2, definitions. I mean, I was just trying to do it more order.
Yeah,
I mean, I could jump into something 5 and go back to 2 if you want.
No, let's stick with one at a time.
Okay, so let's go in order.
Yep.
We do it by the numbers. I hear you.
That's,
Could you give us a summary of what is said in each section before we discuss it?
oh, that's kind of difficult. That's a loaded. Has everyone read the ordinance? Because there's extra copies up here if anybody needs a copy.
This is Alex.
Who's talking online?
This is Alex Hecker,
Ah,
and I'm just saying I have read.
say that again. It's
I
hard
mean,
to
if we're
hear
gonna
you.
talk about it.
Go again, Alex. I didn't hear that.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, you're breaking up a little bit.
I was just saying that I've read the entire document.
Oh, okay, thanks. Any questions, section 1, introduction? Sure.
George Hecker, 895 Nebraska Road. The ordinance is about 140 pages long. And I read it. That's the one that we put out 2 weeks ago or a month ago. And it was very good because it showed how it was written and then all the changes. And there's hundreds of changes. I don't see any way we can sit here tonight and say change this verb, change that, do this, do that. Son Alex, who we can't go here, wrote document September 3rd that details every requested change we've been made. And he has about 40 citizens that have signed on to that. So, and he just sent, I think, a new version of that to you tonight, Richard. So, I have a hard copy of it, and he'll send it to you. Well, tonight, all I can say is to reinforce what these 40 people agreed to. And you all in your own work will do it item by item and say you're gonna agree or not agree. I don't know who actually writes the thing. I don't know who instigated these changes, these edits. I would ask that question flat out. Who instigated those changes that were sent out months ago?
Well, we started it after the comprehensive plan was completed.
Who did we?
We had a work group, the zoning administrator, myself and Jim Peters.
Your group.
Yeah,
Well, they're, put them mildly devastating to maintaining the quality of the island, the low scale development, the protecting against overdevelopment, keeping the historic character, the natural character, the wetlands. One place in there it says for R1 zoning goes from single family description to low density. And what's low density mean? You didn't need a room full of attorneys to describe that, and they never agreed. Is low density one family or 20? That kind of language is just, you can drive a truck through it. Terrible. So,
so as we work through this, right now we're on introduction,
yeah,
and later we'll be talking about the zoning districts.
well, all I can say is in some, it's all documented here and you have a copy of it.
And yes, we're in the early stages with this, and, you know, we haven't even had the town's attorney to, you know, review it yet. So,
But to answer George's point too, the zoning ordinance, the rewrite changes is, you know, in part because of the comprehensive plan amendment in 2024. And whatever the zoning ordinance changes are supposed to match what's in that document. So
Right.
we need to take that into consideration as well. And he's absolutely right. In some districts, like say R2, for instance, there's probably some things in there that shouldn't be, that were proposed. But again, we're in the infant stages of this whole process. So we have plenty of time to review, reflect, and, you know, give thoughtful, you know, decision making on our part. But remember, whatever we recommend goes onto the town board. They make the final decision. So we could make changes to that document, and there's nothing to say the town board members could change it right back again.
we're a recommending body.
Are we?
We're basically gathering information to make a thoughtful, you know, rational decision on. And this document is definitely, as far as I'm concerned, part in play of the process. So if you haven't read the comprehensive plan, read that too.
I did.
And you have.
Thank you.
Yeah, and we appreciate the comments that you've submitted. It's nice to meet you, George. You sent me comments yesterday.
Right.
And I shared that with TPC. Also we've got a binder that we're keeping in our office that has all of the comments that we're getting from the entire community. Because we're going to be going through those as a team and, you know, looking at the comments and evaluating those, and then making changes as appropriate to the document. So thank you for taking the time to do that. And I do encourage everyone, please submit your comments to us in writing so that we've got them. And they will all be shared the same day with TPC. And when we meet, we'll be discussing those. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yes,
My name is Molly O'Brien, and I don't know if it's possible, but as you're going through this, if there are any things that are significantly changed, if you could give the reason behind what prompted the change.
well, the comprehensive plan,
No, I understand that part, but I mean, if there's some specific reason from that plan you made the change. I unfortunately haven't heard that.
okay. Yes,
Yeah, my name is Tom Love, and I live at 962 and 966 Whitefish. And I would like to get your understanding of some of the definitions and how they're applied. And I'm specifically talking about residences, since we're in R3, we're in a multifamily area. Across the street from us is an R2. And then I'm not sure Woods Manor should be R2 also, but the new mapping that you're showing shows it as a different category for use. I'm not sure if it's going to change or what. I'd like to know how the definitions change that. So I don't see anything in here that says residence, I see dwelling. I see the intention of something. So specifically what I'm asking for is the property across the street from us is 951 Whitefish. And 951 Whitefish is an R2 area, residential. In my mind, that says that it's a dwelling for a family. And it was bought specifically for commercial purposes as a rental and short-term rentals and event planning. We ran events there recently, as much as last Saturday, that went up to midnight on having PA systems and music playing right across the street from us. They encroach on the area next door to them because they use the private driveway.
We're familiar with several complaints on that property.
Right, but I'm just saying, how do they handle that in the definitions? Because if I'm going through the definitions, I don't think it's a bed and breakfast. And bed and breakfasts would never allow them to have 40 people living in there. So it's out of that realm. It's definitely not a rooming house because it's a residence. It's not a dwelling because it's not a private residence, it's a rental residence. So I'm trying to figure out how all of this fits in here because it definitely shouldn't be a rental. It's in a residential area. I didn't live in an area that has a neighborhood that I plan on neighbors not having nightly guests showing up every once in a while trying to find out how to get to the place.
Well, we also have a rental ordinance. And that's something that you can find online.
Okay, short-term rentals and rentals.
Right.
So that outweighs the R2?
That outweighs the intention of an area being a residential area.
It's my understanding we haven't done any map changes yet, so the zoning on that property hasn't
What's
changed.
the zoning that is in your future planning map and it changes color? I'm colorblind, so it's a hell of a job for me to try figuring out which shade it really is. But it changes color specifically from the two properties. So if I look at Woods Manor and I look at Tim's property, there is definitely a color change in those, and I don't know how that's affected in these. So you're responsible for this and you say you understand it, and I'm sure you read it since you wrote it. Would you explain it to me in a layman's term of how that applies to those two properties and what we're trying to do in the definitions?
Yeah, I would have to research it. I mean, Rich, have you got any kind of a?
No, we'll have to take that into consideration and take a look at that.
Okay, so you're looking at me to go ahead and give you specific questions and look at it and quote your verse and everything. And then also I'm gonna get back from it is we're gonna look at that. I thought maybe we could walk through that. I mean, you have to walk through just like I have to as a layman going through this thing. I would like to know how the zoning, first off, the zoning residential applies. And then second off, how these changes are going to make that a commercial operation that it is already.
I'm not under the impression that the changes are gonna make that a commercial operation.
And how did it get allowed to that? Or why is it being allowed to be that way? Why isn't it being enforced?
What he's doing there is totally illegal. There's been a number of complaints and we're working on it.
Okay, so these changes, because he talks about the changes and everything, and he's very comfortable with the fact that he's already got this, so he's grandfathered in, and no matter what you guys do now to try to keep him from doing it, he thinks he's done it. He also says that Bob is supportive of him, his next door neighbor, And Bob's asked us for this weekend's event that we park a car in front of his driveway. So they don't break his driveway up any more than they already have. I'm putting the trucks in there to go ahead and build things for the dance and that sort of stuff. To support their efforts.
Still interested.
Yes, they are.
And the fact is, I mean, Tim told us that, well, Bob had a chain up there and he doesn't have a chain anymore, so it's okay for us to do it. I don't have a chain across my place, but when they have the wedding event and they turn around and use mine as overflow parking. And they tear up in a brand new gravel, I'm sort of upset that I need to put a chain across my household. To keep somebody from doing that.
Look, if I may, I sympathize, because I own property right down from the largest commercial development on the island, on Middle Road. Totally wrong, never should have happened, but it got jammed down everyone's throats, except for me. So I can totally sympathize, and I'm not trying to denigrate your concerns, but at the same time.
But actually, your observations are gonna be great for this, because we've gotta stop that.
Amen to that. I could use the help about 15 years ago, but going forward, you can stop.
All right, so you're gonna bring me up there and tell
But for tonight, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, Paul, you just want to gather input from the public.
Right.
Anything on this, and it sounds to me, and again, I'm not trying to denigrate anyone or put down someone's complaint, but if there's a complaint, you have to go through the process.
We've already done that.
And hopefully, you'll get farther than I ever did with the practice. I said it out loud, sorry.
But see, I think, well, the part of the problem is that Paul's right. You have a rental ordinance, and if he's claiming that's a single family dwelling and he's renting it, when the rental ordinance went through, I wasn't sitting on the town plan commission. There was things about holding events I wouldn't have been supportive of, but there is an allowance, I believe, for a certain amount of people to have an event. In my estimation, you should have no events on a rental, but you know, it's already
That
printed.
particular property does not meet the minimum acreage for events. His events are completely illegal. We've turned it over.
Yeah, so let me jump in here. So, thank you, everyone who has submitted the complaint forms. I take those very seriously. The town takes those very seriously. We're in the process of going through and reviewing all aspects of how that is zoned, how the rental agreement, how the rental ordinance, how all of those interact. And unfortunately, that takes a little bit of time because there are competing things here that we have to look at. We're coordinating within the town. We're coordinating with someone who is assigned to this by the state as well. And I was out there yesterday with the person who the state assigned to this inspection as well. So, it would be great if we could make a final determination, quickly. But we are spending many hours on this every day and talking to the right people and looking through not just the zoning ordinance, the rental ordinance and how all of those interact and how DSPS interacts with this. So it is important, for the town to get to a decision soon. It's just we're not there yet.
DSPS, that's Department of Safety and Professional Services.
Yes.
Wisconsin.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry. Yes.
Oh, that's okay.
Acronyms. So, but we do appreciate everyone's, submittals. I received quite a few today. And I read through every single one of those. And we're coordinating, we're talking within TPC, we're talking with our attorneys, to make sure that we're doing the right thing that conforms to our ordinance and the letter of the law. So, I appreciate everyone's concerns. I do. We're just not there on issuing a determination yet.
My wife is the one that is championing that cause. Mine really is related to this document. I would like to know what the difference is between, this his property is small, Woods Hall or Woods Manor is not small, and that's a hugely desirable piece of property for somebody to do exactly what's going on. And it is also a place that has the rooms available for the living quarters. They're not bunk beds to make it 40 people. That actually can be done in the way this is written, from what I can see. Am I reading these wrong, that we are changing that so that we can change that residential category to where it can be a business? They're not gonna be occupied by the owner. That's not the intention. They're too expensive of properties. There's no Hamptons that's gonna be buying this place because they're not exclusive enough. So it really has to be a commercial property. And then what do we do there? And that looks like that's what this is saying. We are going to change these so they can put multiple dwellings on them. And that we're going to go ahead and allow them to be able to be used as commercial properties. Am I reading the zoning wrong?
So we're looking at, you know, residential and what's happening there, and I'd have to take a look. I don't think this area is proposed to be changed.
No,
So it's going to remain
So,
residential.
yeah.
I think we're. Yes,
Well, maybe what you might want to do is say tonight, our recommendation is not to change this and make a notation that when you present this to the town board, his concern will address.
yes,
Along
absolutely.
with everyone else.
And that is
Hopefully you don't get conflict, not that someone else comes up and says, no, this ought to be a commercial development, and someone else says, no, it shouldn't. That's the case of, well, let's split the baby in half. At the same token, if you get 20 people that don't want it, no one wants it, well, that's an easy decision to make. But maybe just make it so we keep moving tonight, if we can just make if you could just make a notation, this is their concern, it's very serious to them, that no, it's not gonna require a recommendation of them.
yeah, that area is not part of our recommendation. Middle Road, we were proposing to change to mixed use. Because with all the CUPs on Middle Road, it basically is mixed use, with the caveat that if a property owner lives on the property, he can run a business out of his property on Middle Road.
I got some issues on that, but let's finish the agenda.
Oh,
If you do find, say the Gary house is in violation with your studies and everything, how do you enforce it?
Yeah.
with a $500 per day fine that can go against the taxes.
Oh, that's a tax. But
Well, it leads up to that. I mean, there's communication between the town and the property owner as well. Yeah, so there is a process that's defined for complaints, and as we work through that, we need to work through that and follow that process as well.
Good. I need to say, in his case, he gets $4,000 a night. Your $500 is compensated, you know.
Send the sheriff.
Well, that's what's in the current ordinance for a forfeiture. Yeah,
Does the zoning end on the north side of Woods Manor? Does the Gary property is a different zone? And then does it zone back to Michael Bryan?
I don't think there's spot zoning in there, but to be honest with you, I haven't specifically studied those properties and what zones they're currently in. But there are no proposed changes.
Versus an R2. I think across
Whitefish Street is the dividing line between R2 and
R3, and the guy across the property we're talking about is an R2.
And everything I heard from the start of Nebraska Roll all the way down from Bryan to Navy Stop was all R2. So how can they operate it?
Because they're trying to change the rules, Mr. Rogers.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You have another one of those zoning?
Yeah, oh, I'm sorry. Yes.
You can have it, and I've got.
I've got extras.
Well, the fact of the matter is people are allowed to rent their house at the end of the day. they do when they rent it, I think is the crux of this issue. I think there's remedies to correct that if they violate those terms of their rental ordinance. Yeah,
Zoning.
not the zoning.
Well, when we rewrote the rental ordinance, we specifically put on there that if you're gonna have events, it has to be on a parcel that's over 5 acres.
But they're having, that's.
And
That is the problem.
it's tough.
But they're not permitting events, right? They're not asking for an event permit.
They can't get one there. It's not 5 acres.
But they're not even asking, they're just going into have it.
Right.
They're providing transportation, so they're parking elsewhere. And so they're not getting any transportation or anything for using public facilities to go ahead and use their busing from. Sewage, I mean, right now, Bob's saying that the sewer is already backing up. I mean, with that many people, I don't know how you can handle it. I mean, there's 120 people that he can have at that event in his mind, because he can put 40 beds in it right now.
And you can have according to rules, 3 times that many people can be invited.
They're saying in violation in all accounts. There isn't any.
Yeah.
That
No. If he wasn't renting that out and it was just his house, he could have a wedding there.
Yeah, you know, the Gessners had a wedding last year and they parked in our driveway because they asked to, so totally acceptable.
Well,
That's a lot different.
his behavior is egregious and we're dealing with it.
And again, I'm sorry I got back into that.
Go ahead.
Especially with this.
Any other specific questions on definitions?
Still on introductions, I got a bunch of them.
Well, we morphed into definitions.
I'll refer to the letter I gave you back, I think on the 3rd September at the last meeting. For campgrounds, right now, I didn't believe it's 1 camping unit is allowed. You want to go up to 2, I'd say keep it at 1.
Okay.
And I can't stress this enough. I know you think it's things for affordable housing. But I'll tell you, I do have documentation here from the sanitary district's engineer. Approximately 15% of the waste, 15% of the volume going into the sanitary district is from hauled waste. Hauled waste, though, accounts for 55% of the load. So it's not so much the waste coming from municipal systems, it's the hauled waste. And I know I had one person tell me, well, I only have a portage on, it's only like 10 gallons, I should get charged a lot less. No, that 10 gallons is a lot stronger than any waste coming down from any municipal connection. So you're not gonna get lower. In fact, if anything, after this $4 million upgrade, it might even go up. In fact, I'm almost certain it would. The other thing you could do is when you look at this is how much more do you want to put into the system? We're proposing a $4 million upgrade instead of a $12 million mechanical plant. Maybe we should have spent 12 million instead of 4 million for an upgrade. Who's going to pay for the extra 8 million? Look in the mirror, it's everything. So if you want to encourage more campgrounds, more travel trailers, having 2 of them instead of 1, you're just going to shoot everyone in the foot, and it's going to make even more money to live here. It's not going to be going down anytime soon. I'd suggest keep it at 1 and hopefully enforce the 1. I know there's several places that have multiple campers. 1. That's it.
Thank you.
Well, I got some more here to do.
Okay, go ahead.
When you do accessory dwellings, how it was is they just counted the dwelling area. If you're an accessory dwelling, count everything, because as I said in my letter a few weeks ago, I can see someone wanting to build a 5,000 square foot accessory dwelling, say only 1,000 square feet is the actual living space, the other 4,000 is garage. You give them a permit because it's less than 1,500, no problem. But during construction, they magically decide to change the whole 5,000. No garage space, it's all gonna be a dwelling. Are they gonna come back and tell you, yeah, it's not a problem? Let's go for 5, or they're gonna keep it 5? Is someone gonna have to go out and inspect this from time to time? I know from the sanitary district, we don't charge people holding tanks until they get water going into the tank. The problem is, no one ever tells you that happens. And we have to have staff go through the dumping reports and find out, well, so-and-so built the house. Give me an example, Max Imholt, not picking on you. And all of a sudden, they're getting dumped into the system, great. Now we start sending them a bill for the holding tank. But I'm not picking on Max, no one has ever come up ahead of time and said, oh, by the way, we're hooked up to our well or in water into the holding tank, you can start billing us. No one has ever done that. You have to go back and look at it. And the same thing with this, who's gonna go back and look and see if someone's really is building a 4,000-foot garage with 1,000 square feet of living space, it really is that. I would suggest, any accessory dwelling, no more than 1,500 square feet or 60% of the primary, whatever it might be. If someone wants to build a 10,000 square foot strictly a garage, fine. But if they have living quarters in there, no, that's what you call double density.
Well, a little bit of feedback on that, our new UDC inspector.
Can't hear you.
I,
Sorry.
I said a little bit of feedback on that. Our new UDC inspector is really on top of stuff, and
Okay.
accessory structures require a UDC permit now, according to section 205 from last July.
Okay,
So even a garage?
Yes,
so any accessory, not just accessory dwelling, accessory structure.
yes.
Okay, well, how does that help someone if they're gonna pull the, I want a 5,000 square foot building with 4,000 square feet of shop and 1,000 dwelling, but you change it all. to
And
dwelling.
any additional dwelling would need a change of use from the UDC inspector.
Okay, but is that, then are you still gonna allow having just calculate the entire dwelling or just the living space? Because otherwise, to me, you're getting to be into double density, and it's gonna be more than 1,500 square feet or 60%. That's just my.
I would
Yeah.
include something that garage slash shop space is included in square footage calculation.
Perfect.
Because it even
Something
says in there right now, decks are not included. Why not include, say, something that garage shop space
that-
is included?
Yeah,
I know what you're saying. Someone can, just calculate that the apartment of a garage apartment is 1,500 square feet, but the garage itself is another 2,000 square feet. And then someday they just go and change that. Then what do? It's
Well,
not like you're gonna,
Here's the thing, if someone doesn't tell the UDC inspector I'm changing this, and all of a sudden it's built, are you gonna have the stones and tell someone they gotta tear it down? No.
I would say when the structure is built, that's it. You can't do any more modifications to the living quarters. You can't expand the living quarters beyond the initial, because there is a percentage.
Yes, what it is now is good, but if that applies to any accessory dwelling, not necessarily structure, but a dwelling where you're gonna have living quarters. Otherwise, to me, if you have a 5,000 square foot house and a 4,500 square foot or 5,000 square foot accessory dwelling, what's the primary dwelling? What's the accessory dwelling?
well, right now you could build a 20,000 square foot house, but only a 1,500 square foot guest house.
Yeah.
That's fine.
If you're gonna put living quarters in your barn dominium, it cannot exceed the 1,500 square feet, period. You can't add on to it later.
As an extra accessory dwelling.
Right.
The whole thing.
Yeah.
Okay,
I read it.
Perfect.
But there again, it comes down to enforcement.
Or interpretation.
Yeah, well, that's our job.
Oh,
Well, I think his idea of the reporting. So, but you would know that when you're going through your inspections, correct? Unless they do it after the fact.
Yeah, so we're reviewing things for the town based on their plans, and the UDC inspector is reviewing it along the way. There are several inspections that ultimately end up with an occupancy permit.
Did you have more?
more,
No, that's
Paul?
all I have. I got other ones, but I mean, for definitions, that's the only ones I have.
Anybody else on definitions? Well,
That's one of the definitions.
sure.
I see we're adding junkyards, or we're changing junkyards around, but if a property is just using their property to go ahead and store old stuff and everything, is that considered a junkyard?
Well, unfortunately, we don't have a junk ordinance. So we're
So sorry, one follow on. Did you-
we're blessed with a lot of outdoor storage.
We have that across the street, so we run it.
But under section 6.1, it's not on tonight's agenda, it's 6.1B. There is a bit in there about junk salvage yards. It's
We did.
a page long.
We
so.
did make some changes and we'll talk about that when we get to the proper section, but there are state laws on the number of junk vehicles that can be just laying around. So we did add some more restrictive language with that. And as far as the junk vehicles, there's been a big push and the dump has been taking them and getting them off of the island. So we've made some progress.
I agree.
Well, so let's talk about the zoning districts. Anybody have anything specific on that? Paul?
Over here, on page 23 of the rewrite, tiny print one. Yeah, this is a conditional use W2. I would suggest you remove boarding house or at least knock down to 8 persons southwest. Normal for educational facility commercial, either the permitted or conditional use, because this is a low density area, not a commercial zone. And likewise, I know I'm gonna get a lot of pushback from Jim and Paul and board. I remove the mixed use zone altogether because it's essentially a commercial zone. Someone's gonna look at that and say it's a commercial zone. They're not going to follow and you have a recommendation of the owner of the business has to live on the same parcel, but it's not gonna be that way. You're gonna get a lot of pushback from people and it's gonna slip through to basically be just a C1. The city of Duluth, I mentioned this earlier, they see mixed use as businesses serving that neighborhood. It's like a little family restaurant, it's not Applebee's. It's a little hardware store, it's not a Home Depot or a Menards. It's not drawing people in, it's to serve that community, perhaps a coffee house for that neighborhood. You're not getting the Starbucks going. That's the big difference in the city of Duluth. And honestly, even if you require a CUP for this, it's almost impossible to deny a CUP. If it follows what the ordinance is, it pretty much has to go through unless somebody gets creative in changing the definition. And I am happy one thing years ago, they probably took out the but are limited to, which as one of my attorneys told me, basically means you have no zone because you can't deny any. At least when you took that out, you got a more rigid rule of what is allowed, so I'll give you guys credit for that. No mixed use in a nutshell.
Anything else, Paul?
Not for me, no, I got others, but not on zoning districts.
Okay. Any questions on, yes?
This is the Tom and Paul show.
Yeah.
We're not to scare the public speak, that's it.
I've never learned how to shut up, I think. But anyway, you're changing the residential districts from family definition to a density definition. But I don't see the dense definition in for density or for low, medium, or high. Is there a specific place that could identify what the density means versus the family? And a higher density, those sound to me like you're just leaving yourself way open for.
And we might be, this is in the early stages and
Anyway, they're
Good
capitalized-
question.
They're capitalized items, so low density should be something I should be able to go right to definitions to see it, or even density being capitalized, I should be able to see it. And I don't see a definition under definitions for a capitalized item.
It's the same concern Mr. Hecker had. I mean, it's a valid question.
Yeah.
Last thing about part of the reason for having mixed use zone is the increased amount of quasi commercial space. Perhaps it's a good idea for the town board not to buy the Bell Street Tavern and convert it to whatever they want. Affordable housing, community center, because there's one more commercials building.
Off the market.
Just throwing it out.
I agree.
Okay.
But during the comprehensive plan process,
It was called.
one thing that was identified, and it's even in the comprehensive plan, is to extend the commercial zone outward. And at the time, the steering committee thought by going out part of Middle Road, and we just determined that Miller Farm Road seemed to be the logical first step on a mixed use zone to see how far it would, and what the ramifications would be, but without actually extending a true commercial zone all the way out Middle Road. So it was.
I understand it's like a baby step, but I think it's gonna go from a baby step to 1 for any developer. That's what I'm concerned about. I do think in that, I have to look at it, but in that comp plan, there was a little kind of conflicting information, you might say, that some people didn't want to see commercial development. They want a bigger commercial, but not next to me. And maybe I'm a little selfish that way, but if you put a large commercial development right next to Ted and Don Michaels, they might be able to upset it. Just see, I not put words in your mouth, but I want more commercial businesses here, but just don't put it next to me.
Well, another thing you could do, and I'm not saying this is going to happen, but you could limit single family dwellings in the commercial zone to encourage commercial development. Because that's another thing we always hear about is people buy commercial property or property that's zoned commercial, they build a house. Well, that's not necessarily commercial. So it's one less parcel taken out of the commercial zone for commercial use. So how do you deal with that? One thought was maybe don't allow residences other than an apartment building or something higher density, because that's where the sewer is. That's where you want higher density dwellings.
You look at our C1 district and there's a lot of residential in our C1.
It's real hard to have a business on the lake unless you're gonna have like a restaurant or something that brings in a lot of money. Having a hardware store on the lake frontage just isn't gonna cut it. But at the other side of the coin, what if I'm just throwing this out, Jody and Elena Erickson, they got a residence, they also have a food cart there. So is that a business, is it a residence, or is it all of the above? I think it's all of the above. But not everyone, granted, is gonna have a business. Look where you used to own it at the Treasure House. It used to be a little office right there and then small building right by the road. But the new owner doesn't have anything like that there. So again, residence, commercial, all of the above. And I guess at the time it would have been all of the above.
Yeah. Well, I get it. There's a lot of people that don't want growth, but we kind of live in a growth-based society. There's got to be some growth. Any other questions on zoning districts?
This is Alex. Can you hear me?
Yep, go ahead, Alex.
Okay, first I want to say thank you to the planning commission and the folks doing this. I mean, I think in general, I get it, like what you just said, like, you gotta handle growth because it's coming. And I think in large part, the proposed overall tenor of the zoning changes are, there's some missteps here and there, but in general are trying to address that. So I appreciate that. And I won't go over my 5-page letter point by point, but I had a couple questions. Can I start with those?
And just so you know, you're breaking up a little bit, so we'll do our best to try to get.
Okay, I apologize. Where is the new MU district proposed?
That's the NU?
Yeah, that's in Mother.
Mixed use.
Yes.
Yeah, MU. Yeah, that's That's Middle Road up to Miller Farm.
Gotcha, okay. Is there a new zoning map being proposed? I couldn't find anything online. And for example, or
There,
my
there,
point is, where's R4, the new zoning district?
four? That's,
That's up. Right.
what, yeah, that's the affordable housing zone by the fire hall.
Between the fire hall and the dump.
Yeah,
Okay. It's
I mean,
not
when,
by the ballpark,
pardon?
it's not by the ballpark,
No,
No, past the fire hall.
okay,
Between the fire hall and the dump.
The fire hall and the recycling facility.
okay, understood, thank you. Last question. And maybe with the zoning map, I can figure this out, but I don't see any zoning districts. There's language in the zoning ordinance talking about multiple zoning districts, but do we have multiple zoning districts? Or are you just talking about like shoreland overlay and those kinds of districts?
you're kind of breaking up, so I didn't hear that, but
Anybody understand what he?
Yeah, I think Alex, this is Rich. You're talking about the overlay zones.
Yeah, there's a reference in the zoning ordinance that talks about multiple zoning districts.
Yeah, and there's a combination of those, and that includes, the wetland protection overlay. But there are also properties that if you look at on the map, you look at the property boundaries, and yes, shoreline is definitely one of those. That's a good example of where it's part of the lot, but not all of the lot. So those do fall into two different zones.
Great, thank you. Okay, so then, and I'm sorry, I don't have the exact page numbers of what this reference to, but I'm just gonna go through a few of my points. Hopefully you can still hear me. And this is highlighted in the letter that I submitted to you, Rich, but just to say it out loud here. I suggest prohibiting multifamily housing to just the C1 town district. Limiting ADUs to parcels of 2 acres or more with conditional review. Eliminating density bonuses for clustered PU developments. Prohibiting dwellings in designated wilderness areas. And then I had a few more points here. And then, well, to the point about STRs, this is probably more rewriting the rental ordinance, but limiting STRs that are used for event centers, parties, and large gatherings to C1 district and not in the R district. And then lastly, what my dad brought up in the very beginning is that we don't have, either we define low density, medium density, and high density with FAR requirements or whatever setbacks and all that kind of calculations, or we eliminate it entirely when it's referenced in the R zones and go back to single family. That's all my comments.
Thanks, Alex. And you're going to be also submitting that, correct? In writing?
Correct. Yeah, actually, I just emailed it to you about a half hour ago, Rich. You were probably prepping for the meeting.
Thanks.
should we move on to signs?
It's a sign.
Well, you got section 4.
So, general provisions, sorry,
You don't forget about campers.
right? Anybody else have any thoughts on campers? Yes,
Just to reiterate on the 4.3 page 58, right now, camping temporary camping unit, limit to 1, again, keep it to 1, don't raise it to 2. And on the similar 4.3D, page 60, a little farther down. Keep long-term camping, again, the one that too, is not all long-term camping units to be rented out. If you own your property and that's all you can afford right now, okay, I get that, if they're renting it out. To me, you're just encouraging more campers here, which again, I don't believe the comp plan wanted, and put it this way, the comp plan came out, they didn't ask. Do you want campers or not? But there's a lot of people that just brought it up out of the blue, so it's kind of hard to ignore the 800-pound elephant in the room. Again, another concern is the taxes putting on the sanitary district and how much do you want to spend for treating all the waste? 4 million is a lot less than 12 million.
There's a cause and effect with everything.
Perhaps this is getting written out, weren't aware of it, but I'm making you aware of it tonight.
Thanks. Anything else?
The only other thing I have is with the private ponds, maybe I'm misreading this. Right now it says private ponds to be run by land privately owned by the same person. If you want to scratch that, is it really wise to have someone dig a pond right next to the property line, perhaps have a neighbor, their land eroded into the pond? I'm just throwing it out.
Yeah, that language was put in there because of state law.
Okay. Wasn't aware of it. It just seems to me you're potentially gonna have a pitch with a neighbor, but. Not an elected official in Madison, I guess, neither are you, that's a good.
Yeah,
So you want,
It's not for
so,
them.
so you're saying you want it left in because we have it stricken out, right?
I'd say leave it in himself, but if it's state law, if your hands are tied. Instead of avoid a potential bitch in the future.
yeah.
What if, on that issue, if, can we put in language that would say that, this pond should have to conform to the same setbacks as a structure for the zoning district in which it's located?
It's state law, well, that'd be.
Yeah.
I guess I'd have to see what state laws. We'll look at that. If we can.
Act, I think it was Act 67 changed a bunch of times.
Yeah, I'll have to look and see that.
Yeah.
Well, maybe, I'm just thinking, if someone's being able.
Well, right, if we can get some language in to enforce a setback.
Yeah, exactly, something.
We'll
I thought,
see what the state says.
I thought,
When you're done with this, you go to the attorney, turns, oh, no, you can't do it, like, you can't do it, but you can do it. I think that'd be a good thing.
I thought signs would be contentious and everybody left before signs.
But, we're coming up to,
Okay.
you're just not gonna hold up. Feel free to jump in.
I don't have too much on science, of it, everybody says, dance, and it gets all this stuff going to my neighbor.
Yeah. Or if it,
Yes, front out, but a way to make it 0.0.
or if it says additional parking, at the approach. parking lot.
Something for the parking, so it's a bit worky. A joke, but my neighbor had a sign out saying free for all of the stuff that he had in his yard. They took the sign.
Go ahead.
Want to go to signs?
Yeah, I think,
Two things, and again, referencing to my letter, is it a real, good idea to allow future signs in the road right away? Because for, ditching work or whatever, usually the town wants it off the right of way, even a temporary sign. So if you want to have a sign outside your business, I can get it. It's allowed in the ordinance, but keep it off the right of way. That's my thinking behind it. The other thing is you talk about class E and F signs, which effectively allows, well, not effectively, but class E and F signs for background, you can't have
you can have, direction signs off premise. I'd say keep those two signs in there on the definition to specifically ban them, because I do know in that ordinance, excuse me, the comprehensive plan, people didn't want to have a clutter of signs, because otherwise, and I love the guy, the car, Kenny Peterson, I've known him since I was a baby. But I don't know, he was real big on having directional signs to his business, but what are you gonna have? 500 feet to Island Carvers, 400 feet to Island Carvers, 300 feet to Island Carvers, 100 feet to Island Carvers. Oh, you went past Island Carvers, go back 100 feet, so I can potentially see it getting real cluttered real fast. And you do allow direction, down premise directionary signs, I can put up some signs on my property direct, to my business too. It can really get look like a shithole really fast. As far as I'm concerned, just keep off-premise directionary signs banned and specifically mention that in the ordinance. Or this way, to a wedding.
We won't have a wedding.
100 feet to the wedding venue, 100 feet, oh, you went past the wedding venue, head back 100 feet.
Well, and you should read section 5.1, the objective of why we have a sign section of the ordinance is to, maintain and enhance unique visual character. That character emphasizing water vista, scenic beauty, and historic buildings could be threatened by the uncontrolled proliferation of signs. The resultant scenic blight would diminish the community's attractiveness to residents and tourists, reduce property values, and the distractions of extensive signage could aggravate traffic safety concerns. And that hasn't changed. It's been in there for a long time.
That's a perfect reason to keep class ENF signs as the.
Hey, you're preaching to the choir, man.
So good.
Well,
I'll talk to everyone else, but I'll ignore you.
We gotta remember, we all have, our opinions
Yeah,
too,
yeah.
but we appreciate the input on things that we haven't considered. And I mean, this is the community's, just like it was the community's comprehensive plan, the land use, document is also, and
I mean, even right now,
Very important.
there's a lot of signs that aren't enforced. I mean, the sign right across the street at the Catholic church is illegal, but who wants to pick on the Catholics?
What you're gonna have to do, is write a letter and say, I'm sorry, this sign doesn't meet our ordinance, would you please have it removed? And I don't know, previous ZAs did it. And maybe it's about time the current ZA is gonna have to start saying, okay, we're gonna have to go around and start taking care of the violations.
well, in some cases, people don't know what the ordinance says. I mean, even tonight, I don't know how many people in the audience have read the entire ordinance all the way through.
Not many.
That,
But I'm not expecting, the 3 or 5 of you to go through this line by line, because you're gonna be here for weeks. At the same token, now put it this way, they always said, an informed electorate is a responsible electorate. Now, you're part of being an informed electorate is having electorates to have them read all this. And I'm sorry, not everyone wants to read it, but
We have
if you don't read it, it's at your own peril.
we had the same problem when we were going through the comprehensive plan. I mean, that's 100 and some pages if you include the maps. And not everyone is gonna read through that, and we're probably not gonna go line by line through that either.
Well, getting off the subject just a smidge, it's like Al Gore. I like how he always had charts and graphs, but the problem is, most people are bored out of the Gore with charts and graphs. And they want to have something, some snap, go look and see them or something like that,
Yeah,
but it doesn't help.
I thought this got a lot of people's attention. This was awesome. Our syllabus.
I will say this, if you're gonna be probably winding this up, I did mention in the back of my letter, I had 4 or 5 of these mini public hearings, you might say, and I'm happy you took that advice. Now you just have to follow the other 14 things I wrote, and I'll say you're batting 1,000. I'm not counting on it, but
You're asking for a lot.
Yeah.
I mean,
asking for a lot, but hell, if I get 12 out of the 14, that's fantastic.
we're doing our best.
I know.
We spent a lot of time and we'll probably end up spending a lot more time.
One of the things I found difficult going through this is in my business, I used to read contracts. And it was real important that you could follow back and forth on contracts. So that's why I was saying capitalize on to have a definition, because that's what you're saying. It's a defined term for the specific meaning. And I found that very difficult. I did read through it, but it was when you first brought it out, because I wanted to see how it affected me. And I realized I could not follow it back and forth to see how it affected me.
How did you feel about the ordinance before we made changes?
To tell you the truth, I was new and I hadn't really even been involved in it, but a little bit of it. I thought it was so loose that you could do anything you wanted to. It just pretty much said, you're free game. We don't care if you're an R or if you're an M or what. I feel sorry for what I was saying.
Have you read our rental ordinance?
No, I had not.
So get a copy of that and read it, because that was something that's fairly recent.
Yeah,
What is that?
so that's where,
We had a lot of rogue events, and that ordinance clamped down on rogue events.
yeah. You're gonna get my wife and I divorced if we start talking about that, so. I see your point, that you have to have growth. It needs to be a controlled, organized growth with a vision of where it's going. And so I believe that you have to have it. My wife is 25 years out here, and I believe that you don't want to change it. That's the magic of the island. So I feel sorry for what you're trying to do there, because we are not going to have the magic of the island without having the other.
No matter what we do as a board, we're just a recommending board,
Yeah.
but even recommending, we're not gonna make everybody happy.
Never will. And that's the beauty of being able to live here, where we can go ahead and have differences of opinion without hurting one. Other than
But also going back to your concerns about what's going on in your neighborhood underneath section 4.3B, there is a section on our off-street parking. So when you're talking about the difficulties in your neighborhood with that, I'm sure there's something in there that would pertain to your situation and would hopefully, help it with the enforcement end of things. It's not our intention to say, park anywhere you want and have as many people park,
I agree with you. The unfortunate thing is that the city does not have the capability of enforcing the rules, no matter if it's a sign that you are going ahead and allowing it to go on just because you don't want to approach somebody. But that means the next person that across the street from them, if they put up the same sort of sign, why is it like? You can't enforce the rules. The guy next door realizes that if we're not home, we got plenty of parking. I've got 3 pieces of property and a lot of driveway. So it's something that
I would love to transition from selective enforcement to just enforcement.
And until we do that, we're always gonna be having to deal with things that are wrong. Because everybody has their interpretation of how they're going to go ahead and administer it. And they're not gonna follow the rules. That's where
As far as short-term rentals in residential zones, state law says that you have to be able to rent 7 days or more. That's state law.
And so short-term rental.
And Wisconsin is one of the few states that's 7 days. All the other states are 30 days, but Wisconsin, 7 days.
There's another violation to that.
Well, a municipality can choose to make it less than 7 days. But we can't make it more than 7 days.
And unfortunately, there's a lot of people up here that have property that they're barely making it. And they need to have those short-term rentals so that they can go ahead and pay their taxes. And they do live there, and that's their whole purpose, is to stay on the island. This guy isn't, he bought it for a commercial operation.
Well, we don't have hotels and motels here either, so without having rental a single family dwelling, where would all the visitors stay too? And if people can do that respectfully to their neighbors, this has been my big beef for forever, is that, yeah, you're allowed a certain amount of rights, but so your neighbors who are paying a lot in taxes, and let's say they bought property in a residential zone, assuming it was gonna stay that way. What is their recourse
Yeah,
for their enjoyment of their property that they pay dearly in taxes on? And that's, you know, it isn't right what he's doing.
this one is that we definitely are in the neighborhood. We just bought those properties. I mean, the one we bought 9 years ago or 10 years ago. And now we just bought the other one from the estate or her dad. And they've had those properties for 25 years. In all reality, we've got 16 lots on those two properties. You know, we could definitely have a lot of residences, and it's an R3 area.
Yeah, it's 9,600 square feet.
We don't want to do that. We don't want to sell to somebody that's going to develop that and put that many things on it. And he wouldn't even let me get the other property we got into his sewer system.
Problem with that is that at sewer there, it never went from your house, went down. The only thing you can do for that is, well, this is the other thing, in theory, one of the best places for affordable housing is actually going on Sunny Slope, because that manhole right at the corner, it's like 32 feet or 33 feet deep, so it's got a lot of.
Hey, can we adjourn and then? Okay.
It's not 15% of the flow and 55% of the total loading, it's 15% of the flow and 58% of the loading. That's just.
Thank you.
And thank you guys for this week, by the way, I appreciate it.
We are gonna have more, so
Yes. So
Please-
agree, then
yeah, please.
October 23rd.
please do your homework. Look at everything. Well, you can always type and send us something. If there's something that sticks out in the other sections, tell your friends, same thing.
Yeah.
Written responses just as well.
So this is the official adjournment.
Thank you.
Thanks, Paul.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming.